The Babylon Project was our last best hope for sci-fi, a self-contained podcast 1 hour long located on the internet, a place of fun and discussion for Babylon 5 fans everywhere, a shining beacon in cyberspace, all alone in the night. It was the dawn of the 20th anniversary of Babylon 5, the year the Great War to free Bab 5 came upon us all. This is the story of the last of the Babylon podcast. The year is 2016. The name of the place is the Babylon Project Podcast.
This is Maggie Egan, your ISN news anchor, and you're listening to the Babylon Project podcast.
Hi there, Babylon 5 fans. This is Raul and Jim, and you are listening, as always, to the Babylon Project podcast. How are you tonight, sir?
Real good. Had a nice day today.
Yeah, it is definitely spring moving to summer. It was a little chillier today, but it was beautiful.
Yeah, well, at least it wasn't raining for a change.
Uh-huh. Well, tonight we are talking about soulmates, or as it was originally titled, Pestilence, Famine, and Death.
Oh, yes.
This is one of my favorite episodes, and it was rather funny because Antonio asks me, what episode are you guys recording tonight? And I told him, oh, that's one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah, and it's one of my favorites.
Yep. Now, you want to know what's amazing? You read the Legion of Fire trilogy, that covers the follow-up of Londo's story after the series ends, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Who wrote those?
Peter David.
Peter David also wrote this episode.
Yes, I was aware of that.
Many people might not. This is one of the reasons why it's such a necessity to read those books.
So, in essence, Peter David created these ladies' characters.
In a way, but apparently he did have a lot of good guidance from Straczynski. Mm-hmm. And don't forget, Straczynski did refer to them in season 1. But yeah, Peter David gets the credit for really bringing them to life.
Mm-hmm.
I think before we say anything else, I'm going to ask you to give us an episode recap.
All right. Here it is.
Archive. Access. Initiated.
Londo is overjoyed that Emperor Turhan has given him permission to divorce 2 of his 3 wives. 2 of his wives, Daguerre and Marielle, try to keep their positions by pretending that they love Londo. However, Timov makes no attempt to put on pretenses and tells Londo just what she thinks of him, as well as everyone else she encounters. During a banquet in honor of Londo's 30th anniversary of his ascension, he suddenly collapses and is rushed to MedLab. When Dr. Franklin announces that Londo must have a transfusion to survive, Timov steps forward and agrees to provide her blood under the condition that Franklin never tell Londo who gave him the transfusion. When Londo recovers, he decides to stay married to Timov because he always knows where he stands with her. Matthew Stoner, Talia's ex-husband, arrives on the station claiming that he is no longer with Psy-Corps after losing his telepathic powers. When Stoner offers Talia an opportunity to also leave the Corps, she is tempted until Garibaldi learns that Stoner is an empath and has been sent by the Corps hoping that they would produce telepathic and/or empathic children. Delenn seeks the advice of Ivanova on the ins and outs of being a human female.
Character, files, opened.
All right, and thank you so much, Jim.
Always a pleasure.
As much on my side listening So, this was a loaded cast. I mean, some episodes don't have very many. This episode had quite a few people.
Yes, there was a number of people in this one.
Go ahead and start us off.
All right. So, in Soulmates, we had Keith Sarabajka as Matt Stoner.
Uh-huh.
He has credits on IMDb dating back to 1979. This is his only appearance on Babylon 5. And as far as geek cred goes, he did appear in an episode of Enterprise.
Right, and he's done a lot of Transformer voice work. He has done some X-Men. He did, and I know he did an episode of Castle. I have to know that because my son's a Castle geek. But if you've seen a picture of him today, he does not look at all like he did in Babylon 5.
No, he's gained a little weight as we all do as we get older.
He's aged quite well, actually, in my opinion.
Oh, he's not bad looking.
From the Dark Knight days.
But he doesn't look as much the, can I say, smartass now as he did then.
No. Who else did we have?
We had Lois Nettleton as Daguerre. She passed away in 2008, but was active from 1953 through 2006.
Yeah, so she was acting almost till the day she died.
Yes, and once again, this was her only appearance on Babylon 5.
Right.
Okay, then we have Blair Volk as Marielle, who has credits from 1994 to 2002. This is also her only appearance. She was a Ryzian woman on Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Really?
And she has, yes. She was in that episode where Worf was joining the people that wanted to get the Federation back to conservative values or whatever it was, and kind of went a little too far to the right. Anyway, Blair Volk has basically fallen off the edge of the earth.
And I know you searched. I know I did a pretty extensive search. I couldn't find anything on where she is now or what she's doing. So anyone who knows anything, feel free to kick us email or voicemail.
Yeah. And then we have David Crowley as Lou again. We've talked about him before.
Yep.
And Carol Stroiken as the Trader. He has credits back to 1978. Again, his only appearance on Babylon 5. Many will know him as Lurch in the Addams Family movie from 1991.
That's me.
Those of us that are Trekkies will know him as Mr. Home in 5 episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation.
That's me.
And he also appeared in 1 episode of Voyager.
Mr. Hom, oh gosh. Now you've got me wanting to look up and see where's Loxana at now. Sorry.
And then Jane Carr as Timov.
Great lady.
Yes. She has credits back to 1969. This is her only appearance on Babylon 5, and she's been on just about everything there is to be on.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, that lady stole this whole show.
Oh, she completely did. You're right.
Yes. And then in the featuring category, we have Brian Michael McGuire as Man. And he has 3 appearances listed on Babylon 5, all 3 of them in this season with this episode. And then the next episode is number 9, Coming of Shadows. He is a Customs Guard number 1. And the final episode that he's listed in is Hunter Prey, episode number 13 from this season, and he is guard number 2. So he never really has gotten a name yet.
Right. Oh gosh. So he's just, does he have any other credits that you know of?
Nothing big.
Just one of those fun little walk-on parts then, basically.
Yeah. And then, now, if I'm not mistaken, this guy was the one that first encountered Stoner.
Uh-huh.
I believe that was man.
Okay.
So.
Oh gosh, like I said, we laugh and make the jokes, but let's be honest, we kill to do that kind of a walk on.
Oh sure. But how would you like to fill out your resume? Well, I played man, and I played customs guard number 1 and guard number 2, and
gosh,
it's like, okay, next.
Yeah. By the way,
all right,
Timov, her name. Spell it backwards.
Don't say it.
It was not an accident. Timov was vomit spelled backwards.
I know. And did you read on the Lurker's Guide where she was not real happy about that?
I've heard this before.
Yeah. On the Lurker's Guide, it says that she protested just a little bit.
Well, when you consider Daguerre as Pestilence, Timov as Famine, and Muriel as Death, she's got other things to be cranky about.
Oh, yes.
Oh, gosh.
Initiating plot analysis.
So, what happens in this episode?
What happens in this episode? A lot. This will probably end up being one of our... It was a lighthearted episode in some ways.
Yeah.
It moved fast.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, the amount of content and density in this episode,
yes, is
just incredible.
Well, after that opening scene, I was expecting a comedy episode the first time I saw this.
Yeah.
One of those lighter episodes.
Just sequencing Veer in that beginning, the whole, well, hey, Veer, sorry, no, it's not. A pleasure,
yeah.
That is.
Yeah.
So
he's standing there practicing and practicing and practicing to be as proper as he can, and Garibaldi walks up behind him, and I love that line where Veer says, "I'm here to pick up women."
Oh, cool.
And Garibaldi says, "You'd have better luck in the bar."
The bar? Yeah. That there just set the whole tone of the episode. And we're going to be moving quick, folks, but there is an A, a B, and a C, though I guess the A and B do sort of dovetail into each other before we're done.
Yes.
Yeah. Speaking of the B episode, while Veer is waiting and Mike is there, Mike sees this guy, he doesn't know his name yet, but Stoner.
Right.
I like the way, the guy just kind of bumps into someone else, man.
Yes.
And the way the situation starts to get a little rough, and then it suddenly de-escalates.
Right.
Yep.
It was kind of reminiscent of the Force.
Yeah.
You don't want to bother. No.
Exactly. Well, exactly.
Yes.
Mike doesn't know what's wrong with the guy, but something about it just bothers him, and that's it.
Yeah. And as we know, Michael has good instincts.
Uh-huh. And, with 250,000 people and all the thousands coming and going each day for that one incident to single him out, it does tickle something big in his head.
Yeah.
In fact, it tickles it big enough that Mike brings it up to Sheridan.
Yes, he does.
And they're talking about it, and Talia makes her entrance to talk business on something else.
Right.
And it turns out that she knows the Stoner guy.
Yeah. Yeah, she knows him, but she doesn't speak
in the worst possible way.
Yeah, doesn't speak very fondly of him. As a matter of fact, he is her ex-husband.
Yep.
And she puts it by saying being married to him was unpleasant.
Yeah.
She and by the look on her face, I would say she's trying to be polite.
It sounds like it's the understatement of the year.
Yes.
And by the way, speaking of being polite, okay, gee, Captain, I just wanted to say what a good job you're doing.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
It was just, well, on the one hand, it was lame, but it was kind of funny because when it first happened, I'm thinking, huh?
Yeah.
And then it turns out it's sort of a running gag throughout this entire episode.
Yeah, because her actual thing wasn't telling him actually good job, but that he was settling in nicely.
Yeah. Like I said, I know we've got some listeners who have had a little inside contact, with what was going on. If anyone knows if there was some sort of backstory or an inside joke behind this, I'd love to know.
Yeah.
Because this comes up, like I said, it's sort of a running gag through the episode.
Mm-hmm. We have the A and B stories have been exposed here, and
all about marital bliss.
Yes, it all surrounds that. We have Londo's 3 shrews.
Uh-huh.
And a very unhappy ex-wife.
Yeah.
On our hands.
Speaking of Londo, he's busy partying. He's having the time of his life. And Timov is waiting.
Yes, and she's not patient.
And she does bite.
Yes. Twice.
Yeah. I'm gonna, there's gonna be parts where we have audio, but I almost wonder why we're even doing this podcast. Folks, just go watch the episode again. I mean, if we included audio clips, it's almost like we have to include the whole episode.
Yeah, it would be, we'd have to put a lot in, but.
Anyway, Daguerre turns up and, what can I say? A little slimy?
Oh yeah, she's definitely looking out for herself.
Yep. I mean, Timov obviously would prefer to trade sword blows than barbs.
Yeah, but she doesn't have a sword handy.
Fortunately.
Yeah. In this scene, can't you just feel the love in the room?
Oh, gosh.
I mean, if that doesn't set the tone for the relationship with these 3 women.
Yep.
Nothing else would.
Yep. Oh, switching back, we've got Talia, as you say, strumming a Strat.
Yeah, she walks up and strums a Strat copy. I don't think it's a real American Strat because it's missing the humbucker pickup.
Yep.
So.
Yep. She is definitely not happy, though.
No. And Sheridan comes in and offers support, and she says, well, I don't think it's your place as a station's commander, and he agrees. No, as a commander, it is not my place, but as a friend,
yeah,
and I think it is my place. And she just absolutely shuts down and does not say another word.
I think in some way it's almost like she doesn't know how to deal with that.
Yeah,
when you look at the Psy-Corps background, she is not used to having normals just care about her or want to be around her or concerned with her just for her.
Well, yeah. I mean, they can people can read her as well as she can read them. It's just that, she's not being read specifically word for word what they're thinking.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
Makes perfect sense.
Okay.
And speaking of not happy, Delenn is also not happy. She she is that is the picture of having a bad hair day.
Oh, this is my favorite Delenn scene out of the whole series, except for maybe when she's talking to Sebastian.
Oh.
I mean, she's standing there with this nest on her head that is just absolutely in complete disarray. You can't even see her bone crest.
I hope to gosh that was a wig they put on her, and they didn't do that with her real hair.
I don't know. I'll tell you what. And Ivanova comes in and looks at that, and
oh God, the look on her face.
And Delenn asks for help, and Ivanova looks and says, "I don't have time for this. I'm on duty." This is a big job.
If it was the beginning of Ivanova's shift, she'd be saying, "I don't have time." It's just the way her jaw dropped. It was.
Yeah.
Just the exchange between the two was awesome. This is one we definitely have to... Guys, here's the audio.
Yes, what?
Ambassador Delenn, you asked to see me?
Are you alone?
Yes.
Come in, quickly. Commander, I want you to understand. I acquired human characteristics to bring your people and mine closer together, to symbolize our mutuality. It is supposed to be a dignified, inspiring transition for both humans and Minbari. So will you please explain to me why this...
Hair.
refuses to cooperate? I had no problems with it at first, but as time passed,
It's pretty brittle. What are you washing it with?
Washing?
Yes, you know, when you bathe.
We use a chemical compound that strips away the outer layer of the epidermal tissue. It is symbolic of being reborn each day.
And you've been using this on your hair?
Yes.
Have you considered just immersing your body in water to remove the sweat and...
We do not perspire in the same way you do. While we sleep, we secrete a fluid.
Ambassador, maybe I should get somebody else to deal with this.
Do you know what to do?
Well, yes, I mean... My mother used to do my hair, but I'm sure...
This is most embarrassing. If you could just...
I have duties.
Please. I trust you.
CNC, this is Ivanova.
Online.
Please inform the captain. Barring an emergency, I may be a while. Oh, boy.
Like I said, classic line. And Jim, I can understand why you would say this is your favorite, one of your favorite.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was just so, it was hilarious.
Uh-huh. Now, back to, I mean, I guess the Talia Stoner story is the most serious part of the episode, really.
Yeah.
And we get back to that, and turns out that her marriage in the Corps was arranged.
Yes.
Then the Corps had it annulled.
Mm-hmm. And Stoner reveals that he is the only person to have ever left Psy-Corps.
Right.
And then Talia refers to this guy as being the reason she married him because he's charming and sympathetic. Let's face it, the guy is a creep.
Is a creep, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Well, Sheridan, strolling through the Zocalo, runs into Jakar. And this is why I was saying, Jakar is wanting to know how he is settling in as well.
That's number 2.
That's number 2.
Yep.
And then up comes Londo.
Yep. Number 3. How are you
Number
settling?
3. Speaking of funny exchanges, Londo is being very nice to Jakar.
Oh, yes. Well, see, now all through this episode, it seems like Londo is riding some kind of high here.
Yeah, something good is going on in his life.
Yeah, something has finally gone right for a change.
Uh-huh.
And Morden's not involved. Yes. Although he does mention that his star is rising.
Uh-huh.
And that's a little later on, I think. But
a happy Londo gives Jakar a headache.
Yeah.
And he seems determined to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, and from Londo's point of view, it's a glorious day.
Well, it might be a glorious day for Londo, but it is not a glorious day for Veer. He is sitting there just caught in the middle between two of the Hellcats.
Yes.
Timov and Daguerre. Okay, folks, this might be a little longer because I don't know how else to do this, but here it goes.
Can I get you anything?
Yes! You can get me out of here! Who does Londo think he is to keep us sitting about?
He probably thinks he's our husband, and that we, as dutiful wives, will wait with breathless anticipation for his arrival. Is that not right, Veer?
Well, actually, it's...
You are joking, Daguerre.
Your problem, Timov, is that you've never known your place.
My place? You once threatened to break a vase over his head.
Well, that was the impetuousness of youth.
That was last month. Daguerre, what are you playing at?
Well, and here you are.
And here you are, finally. Where have you been?
Affairs of state, my dear.
state of inebriation, I'd wager.
Londo, you're looking fit. More handsome than I would have remembered.
Oh, well.
What's going on here? Londo, what's all this about?
You have no idea why I've summoned you all here?
No, and I think it's about time...
Wait, where's Marielle? Veer?
I don't know. I was expecting her, and she didn't show up at
We
customs.
should wait for Marielle to arrive.
No, I will not tolerate this any longer. The secret of our marriage's success, Londo, is our lack of communication. You have jeopardized that success, and I would know why.
Very well. I wanted to save the surprise, but clearly you have forgotten that tomorrow is the 30th anniversary of my Ascension Day.
It is?
It is?
Yes, the Emperor has not forgotten. I personally received a congratulatory note from the royal court. My star is rising. In case you are unaware...
I was unaware, yes. I have little patience for the vagaries of politics and social climbing. That's always been more Daguerre's field of endeavor. Hasn't it, Daguerre?
Now, the Emperor is a busy fellow, of course. No time to shop, unlike my beloved wives, who always find the time to run up my credit accounts. In any event, he wished to give me a gift in honor of my service to our people. And the gift he gave me was any one wish within his power to grant.
And what was your wish, my sweet?
A divorce! An easement from the arranged marriages to my 3 wives. However, the Emperor requested that I keep one of you to be by my side for future state affairs. So, by tomorrow, I will choose one of the 3 of you to remain my wife. The other 2 will be gone. Gone! You'll receive no further money beyond the vast amounts of my savings you've already diverted to other accounts. You have no title, and you'll have to do without the privileges to which you have become accustomed. A small repayment for the many years of joy you have given me.
You knew about this. You knew.
Oh, my dear, I've been caught completely unawares, I assure you. Petulant, isn't she? Well, breeding will tell.
A bitch like you would know about breeding.
Oh, ladies, please. Continue. Beer, if you wouldn't mind.
Yes. Enter.
Hello, Londo. Miss me?
Okay. It's just all classic material there.
Yes.
The secret of their success is their lack of communication when Londo comes in. I mean, it just continues wonderfully.
Oh, yeah. And you know, you can certainly understand that. It was not only was Talia's marriage arranged, but so was all 3 of Londo's.
Yeah.
And, you know, that either that's going to work out or it's not going to work out. And in Londo's case, it didn't work out at all.
Oh, gosh, no. There was actually some, oh, my gosh, how did they get that through when a bit like you line hit? And apparently Peter David just said, well, he wrote it, they didn't catch it, and it made it through the censors.
Yeah.
Which was actually amazing. And now we finally meet Mariel.
Yes.
By Centauri standards, young hottie.
Yeah, I would say.
However, her beauty is entirely on the outside.
Yeah, she, you know, and having the benefit of reading Peter David's books, she is definitely a slime ball.
Yep.
And we see the tip of that iceberg in this episode.
Yeah, and the good thing is, at least in the book, she finally gets what she deserves out of life. I will say that.
Yeah, but you know, the thing of it is in the book she gets what she deserves. However, it's not as satisfying at that point because of the reason she's doing it.
Yeah, it ultimately makes you feel a little sympathy for her.
Absolutely, yes. You're going to have to read it, though.
We're
not going to
spoil you, folks. You're going to have to wait at least until season 5 before we discuss these books.
Yes.
So, back to Stoner. He seems to be a trader of sorts, or an archaeologist, or some sort of purveyor of rare antiquities.
Yes, and he comes up to the trader, Mr. Home.
Uh-huh. Speaking of great lines, some of Stoner's lines, hugging you will make me feel secure when Garibaldi corners him.
You know what? I don't know about you, but listening to that exchange just put me on edge because I was just waiting for Garibaldi to knock this guy flat on his can.
Yeah. Can I say complete ass on our show?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't see why not.
He was a complete ass.
Yeah.
And, I honestly remember being so honked off by this guy. This was an episode at one point I was asking myself, why am I watching this? Which means he played it absolutely perfect.
Oh, they couldn't have found a better actor.
Yeah, because no matter how annoyed you were with him, you didn't even think about turning it off because you wanted to see what was going to happen.
Yeah. No, they could not have found a better actor to play this guy, and he delivered those lines perfectly.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
And Mike shows some uncharacteristic restraint because I wanted to knock this guy on his butt.
Keep waiting. Oh my! Well, we switched back to Susan and Delenn.
Yeah,
they're walked in on by Lanier.
Yeah.
Ivanova has been busy.
Oh yeah.
Oh gosh, the curlers though.
Yeah, and Lanier looks, and he asks a question. I might have even asked my mother this years and years and years ago. Does that hurt? And she says, actually, it's kind of relaxing. And I look at that mess she had. How can that be relaxing?
Oh gosh, I think it's the curler part that's the relaxing part. But
I don't know.
it was just a total. I mean, it's like a lighthearted break and a lighthearted break.
Yeah.
Meaning the episode itself was a lighthearted break that we needed.
Yeah, and right after that, we get Garibaldi and Stoner going face to face again, and Stoner turns it up.
Yeah, Garibaldi tries to grill him, and I don't know how Mike held back.
Well, and in this scene, we now...
Except that he knew Stoner was trying to provoke an incident.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, we've gotten the idea all through the series now that Garibaldi has a thing for Talia. And now we get it confirmed because he starts saying some things that are just, way out of line.
Over the top, inappropriate. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even for an ex-husband.
Right.
And again, Mike shows some monumental restraint here.
Uh-huh.
Although he does grab him by the lapels and, shuts him down.
Now, we switch back to Londo's story, or in this case, Mariel's sub-story. Isn't it amazing? She's not from Earth. There's plenty of people around, and she just sort of naturally gravitates to the captain.
Yeah.
And it's 2 seconds before she's hitting on him.
Yeah. Well, Londo explains, takes him aside and explains...
Saves him, actually.
Right. That she is attracted to people who are in power.
Uh-huh.
And she not only
compares them to a moth.
Yeah. And she burns them.
Yeah. Instead of the moth getting burned by the flame, she does the burning.
Yeah. She's the one that burns.
Well, we do from here get a little more information on what's going on with Stoner.
Yes.
Because he tracks down Talia, and as you mentioned earlier, he's the one person to have been allowed to leave the Psi Corps.
Yes.
and he's offering to get her out too.
Right.
He claims the easiest way out is that you just have to no longer be a telepath.
Right. And he knows how to make that happen, according to what he's saying.
Uh-huh. In fact, it sounds like he came here specifically for her.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least one of his purposes.
Yeah. And and we forgot to mention, I think earlier, that he sold a Centauri artifact.
Yeah, when he was selling that's right. He was selling the artifacts to. Yeah, we talked about that.
Because that's going to come up again.
Now, Mike lets her know that, basically, he's kind of watching out for her. The stoner guy. If he gives her any trouble, just let him know.
Right, and then
doesn't go for very well, does it?
No, she tells him to mind his own business, which made me wonder, is she tempted by his offer?
I think at first, at least, she probably is, and we'll get to some of the reasons for that.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and get things a little bit out of order here. In fact, ultimately, she is planning to leave with Matt. Turns out that Matt was also experimented on by the Corps.
Yes.
And he says that that's how he can get rid of her telepathy. He can reproduce the process.
Yeah. Now that and yeah, it's she does seem to be tempted, which is confusing.
Well, she's scared of the Corps.
Yeah.
It terrifies her now.
Yeah. But, getting away from the Corps is impossible, which makes me think that Stoner is lying.
Now, we did skip one very important part of the story here so far. Why are the three wives here? Because we're about to see a convergence here in parts of the story. And we better cover this. Why are the three wives here? Well, it's 30 years since the Ascension Day for Londo coming into his majority.
Oh, yes.
For a Centauri from Delenn, that's a very, very important time.
Mm-hmm.
And the Emperor gave him a present. A divorce.
Yes.
Actually, that's in the clip that we played. But we really just didn't discuss too much of it. However, he does have to keep one of his wives.
The Emperor asks that he keeps one of the wives.
Well, for getting rid of two, that's a fair deal.
So now Londo is trying to make up his mind. Well, I don't think he's trying to make up his mind. I think he's just having way too much fun watching the three of them. Well, two of the three of them jockeying for preference.
Between you and me at this point, and we'll probably get a little more into this ahead, I almost think he already had made up his mind.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think so, too.
Seeing the other two, and, in fact, this brings us right back where we were. Mariel arrives trying to, quote, convince Londo, throwing all of her charms at him, except it turns out Daguerre beat him to it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and you cannot tell me. Okay, first of all, Mariel has been sleeping around.
Right. No, so has Londo. I think the Centauri don't take that aspect of a marriage quite as seriously as we do. Just a feeling.
Right. But you can't tell me Londo doesn't know this.
Of course.
All right.
That the whole warning to Sheridan.
Right. So that would eliminate her. Timov, or excuse me, not Timov, but Daguerre, all she is looking for is a meal ticket.
Yeah. And power.
Yeah. Both of them are very selfish.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the only one that shows any concern for Londo is Timov.
Yeah, which we'll see soon enough.
Well, and you can see it before that, too.
Oh, well, just hear this scene that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Where she tells him what she thinks about joining in his little, what was her phrase? Basically sexual acrobatics.
Yeah.
She expresses her feelings quite well, quite painfully.
She is not being dishonest with him at all.
Uh-huh.
Okay, then now we get Marielle, who goes up to the trader.
Uh-huh.
That has this artifact in the form of a statue, and she purchases it.
Right.
Okay. Now, does Marielle recognize what this is? And did you also feel that this scene, the way she was behaving, she and the music in the background gave it a very sinister feeling?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And this is because this is a present for Londo's Ascension Day celebration.
Yeah.
Which everyone attends barefoot, by the way.
Or, well, almost everyone.
Right. But, yeah, she definitely, I believe, knew exactly what she was doing.
Okay. All right, so you mentioned, the banner with Londo.
Oh.
Yeah, that was not very well done.
I don't think that was accidental, but it was like, oh, gosh. I wouldn't never want a painting of me with a 6-foot nostril.
Yeah. Yeah, it was awful garish. And that's what gets you. It's that kind of that angle that you're looking at it from. The head is kind of back. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And Jakar, as you said, someone not, wearing shoes. Yep. Jakar was wearing shoes.
Yeah.
Which apparently is an extreme insult.
Yeah. Marielle points that out. And Jakar, I'm not sure if he is pretending he doesn't know or he does know. He looks at Londo and says, "Does that bother you?"
Jakar made it real clear he's completely aware of just how much of an insult it was. And then he asked Londo.
And Londo is still having way too much fun because he says, "Whatever you'd like,
Uh-huh.
Which Jakar grabs his temples and walks away again.
Yep. One little exchange on this during this party came out that I did want to bring up. It has a real bearing for a future direction of the episode. And that's Delenn's comment about Minbari believing some souls are connected.
Yeah, that they keep coming together as they are reincarnated. And I like Garibaldi's description of that, a cosmic sewing circle.
Exactly.
Yes.
But when it comes to what's coming, the whole Shadow War, the relationship with Sheridan, actually even beyond that, the relationship between the Earth and the Minbari people.
Yeah.
This is a piece of that. This is a little nugget that gets tossed in for us.
Yeah.
But then it's time for presents.
Yep. And Lanier gives Londo marked cards. So I can only wonder, did Londo learn his lesson from the Quality of Mercy episode and decide to try a new way of cheating?
Yeah, seems he at least he learned to keep his.
Never mind.
He can't say keep his pants zipped. He can't, because
keep his shirt buttoned, I guess.
Yeah. So apparently, it's not. The gifts are just not necessarily big gifts, except of course what the Emperor gave him. I guess that would count fairly large, but
yeah.
Londo opens the present from Marielle.
Yeah, and he looks to be quite pleased with it.
Oops.
Yeah.
For the first couple of seconds.
Yeah.
And I just think Admiral Akbar, it's a trap.
Yeah. Well, he gets a couple of darts in his forehead for his trouble, which puts him right out.
Which reminds me, thinking back, I don't think Mariel touched the statue. She just pointed at it, I believe, when she bought it from the trader.
Yeah. I believe you're right.
So Londo being the first Minbari to touch it, bang.
Mm-hmm.
They get him to med lab, and it's basically got his metabolism in overdrive, burning him up. And Franklin thinks he could probably save him with a transfusion, transfuse out to dilute and clear out the toxin.
Right.
And as you've said earlier, it seems to be Timov that's really the only one that's actually concerned or worried about it. In fact, Marielle's comment, she's so nonchalant about it, that her comment was, "I am what I've been made."
Well, that was Daguerre, wasn't it?
Was that Daguerre?
I believe it was Daguerre, because my comment is after she said that and showed absolutely no concern for Londo whatsoever, thinking that, okay,
you are right,
since he's going to divorce two of them, she's either going to, if he dies, she doesn't have to worry about it.
You are right. That was Daguerre. You're absolutely right.
You know what? I have to say it. She is a bitch.
Uh-huh.
That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
And Timov is, she is concerned.
She actually is worried about him. Yeah.
Yes.
Now, Stoner claims he doesn't know anything at all about what's up in the statue.
Yeah.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it for a moment.
Really?
Yeah.
It's... I wonder, okay, he claims to have dug this up as an artifact somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
On a world abandoned by the Centauri.
Right. And that he took it and traded it off. I'm wondering if he wasn't given that artifact in order to smuggle it onto the station.
I don't know. I think he might have found it, and he may have chased down a buyer for it in advance. And we'll get to that, because this is, in fact, we'll play the clip of Jakar's conversation. Whatever the case, Stoner is entirely too calm about the whole thing. I mean, his sole concern was, gee, maybe I sold it too cheaply.
Yeah. He just seems like he's really in control of the whole situation. Again, showing that they could not have gotten a better actor for this role.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, okay, what is the ace up his sleeve?
Yeah. The guy just reeks of smart arse. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, back to Londo, it turns out that Timov has the only matching blood type on the station that can save Londo.
Right.
And after everyone else is gone, she comes back to Franklin and offers a transfusion. She explains it as she's not going to win her battles with him like this.
Right.
But like I said, her only condition is not telling Londo.
Right. And perhaps this lady's a brilliant actor. Perhaps there is some small affection there after all.
I think we'll get an answer to that in the closing scene.
Okay.
With her.
Yeah.
A little bit of popping back and forth. Stoner, it does, as you said, does seem to be able to get exactly what he wants out of people.
Yeah, he,
lunch?
Lou says, yeah, he's in eating his lunch, and Garibaldi says, well, wait a minute, aren't prisoners they're not supposed to be fed for another hour?
Uh-huh.
And how'd he do? Well, he just asked, and Lou says, the guy just makes you want to like him.
Yeah.
Now, this guy has been completely unlikable for the entire episode.
That is what gets Garibaldi thinking.
Yeah.
Before we get back to that, we find out that Londo is in fact okay.
Yep.
And he gives Timov a whole lot of grief.
Right.
I mean, the others are fawning and obviously lying through their teeth.
Yeah.
About their well wishes for him. And
right.
Timov just kind of sits there in the background and keeps her mouth shut. And Londo unloads on her instead of the obviously two lying witches.
Yeah.
With a different consonant at the beginning.
And then Franklin tells him to stick it.
Yeah. Appropriate, I think.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Talia, I think, to answer your question before, I really think she was tempted. because now she's decided to stay at Babylon 5.
Right.
And be who she is. So, like you said, Matt makes people want to like him, even though he is such a total arse.
Yeah, and this guy, he either has something working for him, some kind of power working for him, or he is the #1 graduate of a Dale Carnegie course somewhere.
I am a Dale Carnegie Institute graduate. No. Even Dale Carnegie isn't that good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Matt seems to be able to get people to do what they want.
Yeah.
Or what he wants.
And he tells Talia, you do want to go with me, and all of a sudden, boom, she's like, yes, I'll go pack my bags. I'm ready to go right now.
Projective empath. And you finally get your wish.
Yes. Garibaldi knocks him flat.
He apparently is waiting outside for them.
Yeah. Because he not only does he talk Talia into going with him, but he also talks Lou into letting him out.
Uh-huh.
And getting him a transport ready to
arranging
go.
Transport.
Yeah. So he walks out, Garibaldi flattens him.
And this was actually a setup because Garibaldi, first of all, thanks Talia for helping him and makes the I hate it when I'm right comment.
Yeah.
So, Lou's little clue about just wanting to like the guy is what really, I think, made the light bulb go off for Mike.
Yeah, because the guy was just horrible.
Uh-huh. Now, you had been asking about the extent to which Mariel or knew what was going on, or how the artifact getting there, coincidence and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, Jakar has a conversation, and apparently it seems that he's not the only person on Babylon 5 of some stature that has an interest in interspecies relations, shall we put it?
Yeah, with Mariel in particular.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like, well, it's not just Mariel in particular. It seems like they actually know each other from the past.
Yeah, it does. And Jakar spells it out, just absolutely step by step, word for word, exactly what everybody was suspecting.
Uh-huh. Let's go ahead and play it because he phrases that so well.
Okay.
You know, the problem with mysteries is that in order to get rid of the headaches, I have to figure them out. Here we're faced with a staggering set of coincidences. A Centauri artifact, an ancient booby trap, it seems, happens to show up on Babylon 5 just in time to be purchased as a gift for Londo. And rather than hide or deny responsibility, the gift giver makes a point of saying she gave it to him, which neatly avoids any accusation of malicious intent, because usually when you're trying to kill someone, you hide the attempt. And there you see, my head no longer throbs.
That's a very interesting theory, Jakar. To whom will you tell it?
Oh, do I look like a rumor monger? Do not underestimate him. If I could figure it out, so could he.
Jakar, a pleasure as always.
I warn you, Mariel, do not be overconfident. If I were married to Londo Mollari, I'd be concerned.
Jakar, if you were married to Londo Mollari, we'd all be concerned.
So those brought up the questions in my mind. So did Matt bring the statue on the station for Mariel? Was it her plan to kill Londo all along? And was she working with Jakar?
I don't think, and this is based on the nature of the conversation that they've had, I don't think they were working together, meaning her and Jakar.
Uh-huh.
The way he described what had happened kind of gives me the clue on that. I think Jakar was just happy enough to be sleeping with Londo's wife.
There's no proof that happened.
Oh, you can bet.
Because she was fully clothed, even though he was in a robe.
Well, he was still home. But as far as the rest of it, I believe Stoner recognized what he had found and had found his buyer, meaning Mariel, and had used the that traitor sort of as the go-between for the transaction.
Okay.
So I absolutely think it was a complete setup to try and kill Londo.
Okay. And, I don't, and it isn't that obvious. It's kind of interesting how that's kind of shrouded.
Yeah. And what really makes it clear for me that was what was going on was Jakar, that dialogue we just played of Jakar, or that monologue we just played of Jakar.
Yeah.
Now, Sheridan, it seems, has Stoner pretty well figured out when he's talking to them, because the Psi Corps pulled some strings to have him sprung. So much for him being out of the Corps, huh?
Yeah.
Now, he thinks the Corps just wanted to breed more of him.
Right.
Or more like him.
Mm-hmm. Well, and his abilities would be a very valuable asset to the Corps,
Yeah.
Like another experiment that we know about, one Jason Ironheart. That one didn't go so well.
Which makes me wonder. Now, we haven't gone through A Race with Dark Places yet, but we do know that there's some, Talia's on the radar where Ironheart is concerned, and something strange happened between her and him.
Right. Well, and they have both of those, all three of them. Ironheart and Talia had a relationship, and Stoner and Talia had a relationship.
I'm wondering if there was some curiosity of trying to figure out what they had done with, or what Ironheart may or may not have done with Talia as well.
That could be.
But anyway, next to the end here, watch Timov at the end. Londo tells Daguerre and Mariel to basically go away and be glad I decided to give you a bit of an allowance.
Yes.
I guess trying to kill your husband isn't that big of a deal in Centauri life. But watch Timov after she talks to Londo and wants to know, why did you keep me? She goes down the whole litany of her issues with him.
Mm-hmm.
And his answer basically is, he tells her he can trust her.
Well, yeah, with you, I always know where I stand.
Uh-huh.
Well, those were his words. Now, I thought about this and why Timov. What is Londo? Londo's a big child.
Yeah.
Okay, he's been pushed out of the way. He does pretty much what he wants to do. He's drinking and gambling and doing all this stuff. He's basically a child.
Yeah.
What do children want? Children want boundaries from adults. They want to know what their limits are. Even though they act like they don't, they push and push and push to see how far you let them go, right? Well, Timov makes no buts about what the boundaries are.
That, my friend, is brilliant analysis.
So I think he chose her not only because he could trust her and knows where he stands with her, but she sets boundaries for him.
Now, I will say, on top of that, the reality is this is one place where they're kind of being intentionally dishonest with each other, almost dishonest by agreement.
Yeah.
I do believe they both care for each other more than they'll ever dare admit.
Well, you know what? You see it, though, in the novels.
Yep.
That they actually do care for each other, and it's kind of tragic the way it winds up.
It really is. Folks, you got to read the books.
Yeah.
And
Legions of Fire.
You absolutely have to try and find a copy of the last book. It's a hard one to locate. You might have.
It's in an anthology, though, isn't it? I've heard
there is an anthology. You might be able to find that still on Amazon at a reasonable price.
Yeah.
But if you love these characters, you have to read the Legions of Fire trilogy. But if you do find them and if you do buy them, don't read them until you get through season 5.
Yeah, I would agree. If you have not watched the series previously.
Yes, if you have not watched the series. If this is a rewatch for you, then absolutely grab them and read them. But if you're going a first time through with us, yeah, you have to wait through season 5.
Yeah, I would agree. So now we get our closing scene.
Anthea's favorite scene of the entire episode, actually.
Yes. And
she still busts. I got to tell you, before we get, every time my wife hears that, she busts up laughing. It's like it never grows old.
Yeah. Well.
And Susan should have known better than to offer help anytime.
Yeah. Well, she.
Cramps.
Yeah. Delenn, well, see, and we now know that Delenn is, at least her reproductive system has turned out to be human.
Turned to human, yes.
Yeah. And,
important tidbit, actually.
Yeah. You know what? I am so thankful that I didn't get to hear Susan's explanation of this one.
Should we include the clip of this?
Yeah, well, I suppose we could. Why not?
All right, here you go, folks. Like I said, this is my wife's favorite line of the show tonight.
Commander, Susan, I wish to thank you again for your patience and understanding.
Oh, not a problem.
Taking on human characteristics has been something of an education for both of us.
Well, if you have any other problems, any other questions at all, just ask.
Well, now that you mention it, do you have any idea why I suddenly started getting these odd cramps?
And that leads us right into the closing credits of what is one of many people's favorite episodes, especially of the lighter episodes.
Mm-hmm.
The episodes where we see Centauri domestic life is just all three of the. We had the show last year with the 2 kids,
right?
Which was great. We had this one, and then we have Sick Transit Veer coming up later.
Ah, yes.
But all 3 of those episodes with Centauri domestic life are just absolutely fantastic, and this is by far, my opinion, the best of the bunch.
Yeah, it's a great episode. So anyway, that about covers it.
That certainly does. I cannot come up. There was a point where we're doing the 3 likes and the 3 dislikes.
Uh-huh.
The 3 likes for me would be every moment of the entire episode, and I couldn't give you a dislike.
No. The only thing to dislike in this episode would be
is Matt Stoner.
Would be Stoner. However, you can't help but admire the performance of that actor, and which makes it a positive.
Yeah, he makes it so easy to hate the guy.
Yeah, and this is Peter David's writing. It's brilliant.
Very much so.
Yeah.
I think that really sums it up. It's Peter David's writing, and if you're familiar with Peter David from Trek or any of the other work he's done, this is a must-watch episode for you.
Oh yeah,
yeah. One of the things about Peter David that I really loved is, not just his Soulmates, but he's going to do an episode a little further down called "There All the Honor Lies," and if you remember that episode, that is where Sheridan needs a lawyer.
Oh, yes.
Now, that is not a lighthearted episode at all. It's definitely a serious episode.
Mm-hmm.
He gets Straczynski's thinking on Babylon 5.
Yeah. Well, but there are some lighter moments in that episode.
Yeah, indeed there are. But he really gets it.
Yeah.
He understands exactly what Joe Straczynski wants and where he's going.
Oh, well, yeah.
So, totally brilliant.
Well, should we wrap this one?
Oh, we probably should, because at this point it's just going to be us having a geek fan love on it.
Yeah.
So, folks, we definitely want to hear from you. And please, please, please send us email, send us voicemail. Especially give us some nice reviews on iTunes if you'd like. Let us know what we're doing right. Let us know what we're doing wrong. Let us know what you'd like more of.
Yes.
I mean, for us, this is, I think I use the word geek fan love, but it's also you're as much of a part of it as we are.
Yeah.
So anything else to add, my friend?
No, I don't have anything at this time.
Except until next time, no boom today.
Oh, no boom today. No, there wasn't any boom today.
Almost, but not quite.
Yeah, unless you consider Garibaldi knocking that guy down. But no, there was no real boom today. Is there going to be boom tomorrow?
Yeah, yes, there's always a boom tomorrow.
Good night now.
Good night, folks.
Podcast terminated. Thank you for listening to the Babylon Project podcast. You can email Raul and Jim at the Babylon Project podcast at gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook at the Babylon Project Podcast. On the internet, we are at babylonprojectpodcast.wordpress.com. To subscribe to the podcast, you can find us on iTunes, or you can subscribe to the RSS feed on the webpage.